This is Rebecca from Rebecca's Beautiful ASMR Addiction. I hope that you're all doing well, and you can see that I've got some books that I would like to share with you. I got them from the library in Susanville, California. That is my local library, and if you have not seen it, I do think you might enjoy, if you like books, looking at that video that I did, checking out books at my library. So if you remember that I got those, then you might like to hear about the ones that I actually read. So before we begin, I'm going to do my usual thing. I've got to tell you about Fabula coffee. Decaf. A hug and a cup. Have as many as you want. The reason they say that is because it's organic, low acid, mold-free, clean. And it's so good for your tummy. Because you know, and I'll say it again, if you don't know by now, that acid is hard on your tummy. And coffee is very well known for how hard it is on your gut. So this being no or low acid, it's just super, super good. I get decaf, and anyway, I just wanted to remind you, if you haven't ordered any yet and you want to have the best tasting low acid coffee that you've ever had, give it a try. Okay? I made some for me to sip on while I am speaking with you. It's so good, you guys. Think about it. If you've got heartburn or hiatal hernia or acid reflux, that kind of thing, this is so good for you. Okay, so let's start with the book called Wait For Me, Watch For Me, Eula B. It's by Patricia Beatty. Let's see. I believe that this, when I went to the library last, I looked through the children's books, and I think that's where this one comes from. And the outside says that it's an accelerated reader, so I think it's for kids that maybe ahead of their age group. I don't know for sure if that's what that means, but I enjoyed it just like I would an adult book. Let me just read to you the introduction here. A sense of dramatic irony marks this exciting novel about a young boy who struggles to carry out the rescue of his 4-year-old sister from the Comanches, and then encounters resistance when he least expects it. The only survivors of an Indian raid on their Texas farm, Llewellyn and Eula B, are taken captive. I'll stop right there and explain to you that this book was written well before the time of political correctness. So they do refer to them as Indians. It says copyright 1978. So you would have to be, prepared for that verbiage. Anyway, Llewellyn and B are taken captive, and they're kept Llewellyn whistles his sister's favorite song to remind her that he is near. After a daring escape, he meets a former neighbor named Cabral, who has always been mistrusted by Llewellyn's family. However, because Cabral's 2 children are also captives of the Comanches, they reluctantly set out together to ransom them, and on the way find unexpected kinship. Despite setbacks and agonizing delays, Llewellyn finally sets out on his dangerous mission and forces a confrontation with the Kiowa brave who killed his family, the same man Eulaby now looks to for protection. Patricia Beatty's affecting novel of courage and determination is set against a realistic background of frontier life in the 1860s. So, let me tell you, this was a super exciting book. And I think almost, in a way, too mature for young people. What struck me is that the emphasis on this story was the idea that once someone has acclimated to another culture, which Eulaby, his sister, did, she became completely indoctrinated. No, indoctrinated's not a right word. Immersed into the culture, of the Kiowa. No, it wasn't Kiowa, it was Comanche lifestyle. And by the time that her brother would come to rescue her, she didn't remember who he was. And that was really hard for Llewellyn, because he just couldn't get there as quickly as he wanted. So I don't want to give the whole story away, but let me just what I meant to say is there's a real tension in the book where we're trying to decide, is it kinder to leave her there, or is it kinder to bring her back to the civilization that she once knew, even though it would be just her and her brother, because the rest of the family was no longer living. Let's read the first part of the first chapter. No, let's not read that part. Let's read. Pause, go a little further in and say. Let's read this part. All at once, Llewellyn's shouts were drowned out by a terrible screeching. He knew instantly that this noise did not come from the throat of any big cat. It was a human sound. He stopped in his tracks, frozen with shock, as 5 men on ponies came riding toward him out of the oaks. Their faces were horrible to look at, painted black, and their half-naked bodies gleamed a copper color. Indians armed with clubs and hatchets. His trance broken and his heart hammering with fright, Llewellyn reacted automatically. He lifted his pistol, aimed at a rider pounding down on him, and pulled the trigger. The hasty shot meant for the Indian's heart was not a true one. It struck him in the shoulder, and at its impact he fell from his pony. Okay, So let's skip forward. And you may assume all that they said in the introduction, that he is captured along with his little sister. I think this book has been at this library for a long time because there's a lot of little spots on there. I loved the way that Llewellyn was so ingenious and quick thinking, so that he actually realized that if he was ever going to be free, he needed to cooperate, for the most part, with becoming as much a part of the tribe and being a Comanche as possible, all the while knowing that he still wanted to leave. So it's just I do not know how to give a book review, you guys. I've never done one before. But I can tell you that for a young person's book, this was intriguing and a super fast read. I won't let you see the end of the story here. I'll cover that up. But it says, well, the author's note is West Texas was, in fact, left almost unprotected during the Civil War. The few military forts that existed were severely undermanned, and many settlers had to fort up for protection from Indians at these military installations or in stockaded farms. The Comanche Indians, the most powerful and feared of the Great Plains tribes, raided the defenseless Texas farms with great fury. Then ever once the men left for the war in the east. The Comanches and their Kiowa allies killed, pillaged, burned homesteads, and often carried off cattle and children. You know, I do think they mention quite a bit too that the settlers and the Americans also had been unjust with the indigenous people. So it's still a book about, it's a story, you guys, and it's fiction. So now a resident of Southern California, this is the author. Patricia Beatty was born in Portland, Oregon, and she was graduated from Reed College there and then taught high school English and history for 4 years. Later she held various positions as science and technical librarian and also as a children's librarian. Quite recently she has taught writing fiction for children in the Extension Department of the University of California, Los Angeles. But that's still like a long time ago. She's done a lot of writing with her husband. Mrs. Beatty is now married to a professor of economics at the University of California, Riverside, and she has a married daughter, Alexandra Beatty Stewart. So, I don't know much more that I can tell you. I don't want to tell you how it ends. That's for you to find out if you think you might like this book. So, that is a Comanche warrior who was the father of Eulaby for a little while. Alright, let's set that there and take a look at the treasure of Splendor Manor by Bruce Clements. I found it very interesting, and you could tell that this definitely was a children's book for youth. I was real surprised that this story in particular was written by a man, because it seems to he seems to very well capture kind of the thoughts and feelings of young girls. And the heroine in this book, this story is only 14 years old. So how does a man portray the thoughts and feelings of two young girls? If you ever read it, you can determine for yourself if he did a good job. Here's the intro. Here it says, "Does it ever happen, do you think, that mistress and servant can become friends?" And Laurel shrugged her shoulders. "I don't know. If it happens, I expect it's very rare." So here's the general idea of the book. Laurel Bybank is on her way to a new job. She's only 14 years old and an orphan. She knows she's lucky to have it and looks forward to being maid to 17-year-old Alice Plunderell. But all is not as it should be at Plunderell Manor. Lord and Lady Stain, Alice's uncle and aunt, keep Alice a virtual prisoner in her tower room. They order Laurel to spy on her mistress, to discover the whereabouts of the family's hidden treasure and clear the way for their devilish plan. The girls are on their own against Lord and Lady Stain. Alice is not much help, but she has friends who are: John Frame, former steward of the manor, and Harold Pomfret Watkin, the man Alice thinks she's engaged to. For the most part, though, it is Laurel who must foil the Lord and Lady's plot, retrieve the family treasure, and secure her mistress's future, as well as her own. Now, see, when I read that at the library, I didn't think it did it justice to the story. It took me a while to realize that it might not be that it would actually be a little more exciting than what that explained, because let's see if I can find the see, it's 1987. I'll tell you what, this storyline it made me think of princes and dukes and earls and all of those things that, like, I used to read the author Barbara Cartland, and she always wrote these kind of cheesy but really fun romances in the days of kings and queens and princesses, and it kind of has that feel just a little bit, but it was such an unusual plot, and this introduction doesn't give away at all the twists and turns and the completely unexpected things that kept happening. I just couldn't envision a young lady who actually had aunts and uncles that would actually keep her in a room, locked up in a room. But I have in real life actually met and knew somebody whose parents kept him in a cage outside. That's how they raised him. I mean, it's just tragic, but sometimes fiction is loosely based on fact. So this young lady, they say Alice Plunderall, is living day after day in a room in her parents' upstairs room. She's locked in. Now, they don't give you a lot of history about the character Laurel, except for that you know that something in the way that she has suffered has caused her a certain amount of maturity. And in this book, they bestow her with faith. She has a really strong, see there's the word, Laurel shook her head. It would be nice, but I don't think that every Catholic believes that. Not about life here on earth. So that's just one sentence that gives you a clue that there is going to be some strange, old-fashioned ways of thinking about God. Let's see if I can find an part. Okay, so here's where she arrives at this manor. Here it's called. She came to the top of the hill where the road divided, and to her right was the manor house, and to her left the iron gate into the side yard. The house was dark stone with 3 long rows of windows across the front. The shutters were gone. The metalwork under the first floor windows had been pulled loose. 2 stone basins by the door had been dug up and set on and against the front wall. To describe it, the house seemed dead. No curtains on the windows, no lights, no sounds, nothing moving anywhere. Skip to Laurel walked to the back of the yard where the stables were, and in under the low-hanging roof. And she meets somebody named Mr. Regis. I don't know how to make this exciting for you guys, but she makes friends with the staff, and they are helpful, and I have to be honest and say it's total fantasy. Nothing like this in real life, in spite of the idea of somebody being kept. It's just that the events were very exciting and unlikely. But it captured my imagination for some reason. And then towards the end, it's about this Laurel's intelligence and ability to figure out where the family treasure is hidden. And so then you just start getting real excited about whether she finds the treasure or not. Here's something about the author. Bruce Clemens is the author of many books for children, including I Tell a Lie Every So Often, a National Book Award finalist. His most recent book, Coming About, was praised by Kirkus in a starred review as a funny, touching, yet unsentimental tribute to quirkiness, lost causes, and free-floating ambition. Jacket illustration, 1987. This book was 78, and this is 87. Almost 10 years later. It's just fun. It's just fun. That's all I can tell you. And I really enjoyed the ending. I enjoyed it. It kept my attention quite a bit. Okay, so there's that. Now this is the one, you guys, I saved the best for last because Oh my word. When I saw this in the library, I thought, oh well, what a storyline. But I could not have, by reading the storyline, have imagined what this turned out to be. So let me read. Well, I don't know if you noticed this. I don't know if that's what I think it is. It's the shape of Australia, the country. I'm not sure. But it's a mystery by Miller. And look here. This book was donated to Lassen County Free Library with compliments of the author, Gordon Miller, and signed. So this guy, Miller Gordon, wrote this book and actually had some affiliation here with our library here in Susanville, California. Let's find out something about the author, because Gordon Miller is an Australian, see, he's from Australia, who believes more should be written for and about Australians. The color and uniqueness of the Australian attitudes and language should be captured before they become diluted by the international media. Interesting. Gordon Miller's primary goal is to entertain, and to do this, he has written a series of thrillers in language which, through picturesque, is easily understood by readers of all walks of life without reference to the dictionary. Well, I'll tell you what, I was thoroughly fascinated by this book. It was a page turner, and I kept on. There were times I stayed up till midnight trying to get to the next chapter. Oh my word. Okay, let's get. I Killed My Burglar is an Australian thriller located in Sydney. It is logical, gripping, skillfully developed, and above all, hilarious. This is the first Miller thriller published. Others already written will soon follow. Having one's home burgled is a devastating experience. In Sydney, like all great cities of the world, this ordeal is now almost inevitable for every one of us. Oh, seriously. So you must read this thriller. Only then can you be aware of the problems you could face. Only then will you be able to make the right decisions. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's the bottom line is the book gives away what happens. He kills his burglar. What the book doesn't tell you is the excruciating decision that he had to. What this doesn't tell you is the excruciating decision he had to make at the time that he killed the burglar. The tension in the whole story is because of the choice that he made to not call the police. And his how do you say it, desire to convey to you all the reasons why he couldn't. Look, it's another 1987. Wow, I picked up some older books, didn't I? He had me completely convinced that he should not have called the police and get involved. And yet still you have this question of, well, but you still want to follow the law. And the law is always, and honesty is always the best policy. But there was a really great argument that he made. But the story is all about how he then must deal with the consequences thereafter. I'm telling you what, there is so much. What do you call? Well, there's a lot of violence. Actually, there's a lot of violence in it, but it's not disgusting or gory. I don't know how that could be, but it's true. Constant suspense. So much so that sometimes when he stopped to describe things and his thoughts about things, I'm like, okay, hush up. I just want to hear what's happening next. But it was enjoyable and important to hear him set up the situation with his thoughts and feelings. But it wasn't just about him and the burglar. Many things ensued after that because he killed this burglar. A chain of events unfolded that just could not stop turning the pages. You guys are so good. I want to find... Here's just right at the beginning. I let the body slump to the floor while I caught my breath and straightened my aching back. Swooning with exertion, I fought back oblivion with every breath I gasped. The television was still on, and our hero had just dispatched a bad guy. Here was I having just dispatched my bad guy. The difference was that our hero looked nowhere as battered. By the flickering light of the television, I left the body and limped through the dining room into the kitchen, where I opened the door into the garage. After turning on the neon light into the garage, I opened the boot of my car and removed a few odds and ends to make room for the body. Next, I returned to the lounge room and, grabbing his shoulders, dragged him through the dining room, the kitchen, and finally out into the garage. It just one thing after another, you guys. What was also so very interesting is that this author definitely is Australian, and you hear it in the verbiage, but you also hear it in the way that he talks, not just the vocabulary, and also the kind of description of life in Australia a little bit, touches on that a little bit. Basically, you really can get a feeling for why he thought and acted the way he did because of being in Australia, partly. And the ending, oh my word, you guys. You put yourself in this guy's place over and over and over again to ask yourself, what would I do? What would I do? So, it's just, so highly recommend that book. And of course, I would recommend all three of these books just because the diversity, there's so much to read out there, you guys, just like there's so much to watch. We've got endless entertainment, but I liked this one because of the historical aspect of it. However, I don't think it was prejudice, but it definitely gave you more of a feel for, no, they did describe some feelings of the Comanches as well. You could feel for them as well. So just history, just a little bit of history in story form. And then this one's just charming. It's just charming. It's just fun fluff. And this one is intense and intriguing. So, that's it, you guys. I don't have any more to say about these books. I hope there was enough information there for you to decide if you'd like to read any of them. And of course, I have to remind you Fabula Coffee is the best smelling, best tasting, wonderful company to work with. They will do right by you, I promise. I've not had any problems with these guys, and I've been drinking this for almost 5 years now. Worth every penny to me because of my hernia, my hiatal hernia, because I hate heartburn and regular coffee eats up my gut. This stuff will really, really make a difference. If you love